We present a video on the hysteroscopic repair of Cesarean scar isthmocele. Cesarean scar isthmocele is also referred to as a Cesarean scar defect or niche. It is defined as a wedge-shaped defect with a depth of at least 1 to 2 millimeters on the uterus at the prior Cesarean scar site. Isthmocele incidence depends on the imaging modality used for diagnosis. Importantly, identification of an isthmocele on imaging does not imply the presence of symptoms. Patients may be asymptomatic or present with abnormal uterine bleeding, usually in the form of postmenstrual or intermenstrual spotting. Other symptoms include mid-cycle pain, secondary infertility, or obstetrical complications like cesarean scar pregnancies. The underlying pathophysiology behind secondary infertility may be due to the persistence of menstrual blood and the presence of chronic inflammation within the isthmocele. This may affect cervical mucus production and consistency and impair sperm transport and embryo implantation. Current evidence supports surgical management of symptomatic isthmoceles over expectant or medical management. Surgical approaches to the repair can be performed hysteroscopically, laparoscopically, or vaginally. Candidates for a hysteroscopic approach include patients with symptomatic isthmoceles and a residual myometrial thickness of at least 3 millimeters. This is to reduce the risk of uterine perforation and thermal injury to adjacent structures. Hysteroscopy can also be used to rule out other forms of intrauterine pathology. The steps of the procedure include first identifying relevant anatomy, second resecting the cephalad edge of fibrosis, third resecting the caudad edge of fibrosis, and finally ablating the endometrium and abnormal vessels within the defect. The first case is a 43-year-old gravida 3 para 3 who has had postmenstrual spotting since her third cesarean section. Sonohysterogram revealed an isthmocele with a depth of 8 mm and a residual myometrial thickness of 8 mm. Step 1. Identify the anatomy. This figure shows a uterus with an isthmocele bordered by cephalad and caudad edges of fibrosis. Blood pools within the isthmocele leading to spotting and pain. This uterus is retroverted as this is a risk factor for isthmocele formation. Most operative hysteroscopes are angled. An isthmocele can be easily missed unless the hysteroscope is rotated 180 degrees to direct the field of view towards the anterior uterine wall. A large isthmocele bordered by cephalad and caudad edges of fibrosis is seen. The uterine cavity is beyond the cephalad edge. Step 2. Resect the cephalad edge. The goal of the surgery is to flatten the cesarean scar defect to restore the continuity of the cervical canal with the uterine cavity. We start by resecting the cephalad edge of fibrosis to smoothen out the contour between the uterine cavity and isthmocele. A loop electrode is used to resect the cephalad edge of fibrosis. The resection is started in the midline and then continued laterally, only on the anterior wall of the uterus. You can now see a much smoother transition between the uterine cavity and isthmocele. Step 3. Resect the caudad edge. We then resect the caudad edge of fibrosis to smoothen out the contour between the isthmocele and cervical canal. The caudad edge is identified and then resected, again starting in the midline before continuing laterally, only on the anterior wall of the uterus. This facilitates drainage of blood and debris within the isthmocele. Care is taken to minimize retraction of the hysteroscope as it is located just within the internal cervical os. The contour between the isthmocele and cervical canal is smoothened following the resection of the caudad edge. Step 4. Ablate the isthmocele. Abnormal vascularity, which may play a role in abnormal bleeding, is often present within the isthmocele. We complete the procedure by ablating the isthmocele using a rollerball electrode. The ablation is limited to the endometrium within the isthmocele. You can see the adequately ablated isthmocele, which is much less defined due to the resection of the cephalad and caudad edges of fibrosis. To review the steps of the procedure, step 1 is identifying the anatomy, step 2 is the resection of the cephalad edge of fibrosis, step 3 is the resection of the caudad edge of fibrosis, and step 4 is the ablation of the isthmocele. We present a second case of a 42-year-old gravida 2 para 2 who has been experiencing postmenstrual spotting since her second cesarean section. Sonohysterogram revealed an isthmocele with a depth of 5 mm and a residual myometrial thickness of 10 mm. Step 1 involves identifying the uterine cavity, isthmocele, and cephalad and caudad edges of fibrosis. Step 2 is the resection of the cephalad edge of fibrosis. In this case, small fistulous tracts are seen. These can sometimes lead to cystic spaces within the fibrosis and may play a part in isthmocele development and symptomatology. The tracts are subsequently ablated and resected here. Once the cephalad edge is resected, the isthmocele is now in continuity with the uterine cavity. Step 3 is the resection of the caudad edge of fibrosis. Again, care is taken to keep the hysteroscope just within the internal os. This step is often challenging as one is operating just inside the cervical os. We try to keep the hysteroscope fixed while changing the field of view by primarily rotating the light post. The contour between the isthmocele and cervical canal is smoothened following resection of the cephalad edge. Step 4 is the ablation of the isthmocele. Abnormal vascularity within the isthmocele is seen here. The rollerball electrode is used to sequentially ablate the endometrium and abnormal vasculature within the isthmocele. Care is taken not to advance the rollerball too forcibly into the isthmocele, risking perforation in this weakened area of myometrium. Resection and ablation must only involve the anterior uterine wall to avoid cervical stenosis. Finally, you can see the isthmocele is almost entirely eliminated by the resection of the cephalad and caudad edges of fibrosis, restoring the continuity between the uterine cavity and cervical canal. Technical tips include emptying the bladder with a Foley catheter during the procedure to aid in visualizing the isthmocele and reducing bladder injury. To help maintain cavity distension, avoid overdilation of the cervix. Also, due to the use of electrosurgery just within the cervical os, there is risk of thermal perineal injuries from capacitative coupling. To mitigate this risk, avoid overdilation and use a Sims or weighted speculum during the procedure. Rotate the hysteroscope light post to focus on the anterior uterine wall, and consider ultrasound or laparoscopic guidance if the residual overlying myometrium is thin. A randomized controlled trial between hysteroscopic isthmocele repair and expectant or medical management showed significant reductions in postmenstrual spotting and related pain in the group who underwent hysteroscopic repair. Similar findings have been reported in other prospective studies. A case series published on the use of hysteroscopic isthmoplasty for the management of secondary infertility found that all 41 patients successfully conceived within 24 months of undergoing the procedure. Another study found that 9 out of 11 patients with secondary infertility in their case series successfully conceived after hysteroscopic isthmoplasty. Although evidence in this area is limited, these results are intriguing for patients with secondary infertility and Cesarean scar isthmocele. In the meantime, hysteroscopic isthmoplasty should not be offered as a prophylactic procedure to reduce adverse pregnancy outcomes. And while reports of successful and uncomplicated pregnancies following this procedure exist, more evidence is required on whether it is safe to conceive following a hysteroscopic isthmoplasty.